Hello and welcome to another episode of Strictly Healthy, episode 32. Now, had a bit of a hiccup, so bear with us. We have today Dr. Evelyn Okpanachi. Now, she wasn't quite prepared. She thought this was more of a podcast rather than a broadcast, live broadcast. So she is not prepared to go live with us right now, but what we're going to do is just go live in a couple of hours and then she'll be ready to talk with us then. But I just want to say a word to you, Dr. Evelyn. Let me unmute you there. So you're not a medical doctor, but maybe you could share a little bit about your history, etc. And then we will be bringing you on at 6 p.m. today. So that's in a couple of hours time, GMT. So did you want to just share a few words with us, Dr. Evelyn?
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Linda. And I really appreciate your patience. And you do look wonderful today. So thank you for having me on your show. Yes, my name is Dr. Evelyn Okpanachi. My background is in healthcare management, and I had shall I say, my career spanned across the private health sector and the public health sector. And this is really, first of all, it was about impacting lives and changing how people perceive healthcare. So, and this is really on an operational level. And so from there, I really, shall I say, transcended into an NGO capacity where this was about looking at how we can eradicate poverty in Africa and around the world, but it was starting from Africa and the UK. So, part of our NGO, which is called Royal Initiative Against Poverty and Starvation, looked at boroughs. So one of the poorest boroughs in the UK is Newham, and so we've done a lot of work in Newham with the homeless in terms of how we can eradicate poverty. So again, and also that also is about healthy lifestyles as well. So there's a lot of work that we have done and I continue to do, and this is really just to, I would say, my humanitarian response, which is and I love your show's title, which is about it's about health, isn't it? So it's really that healthy lifestyle and work and life balance, which is very stringent in everything I do.
Right. Okay. Well, we're really excited and looking forward to what you have to share with us later on about all the various ventures you're doing, as well as how you're going to talk to us a little bit about overwhelm and work-life balance and how we can get that right, because there's just so much going on, so many distractions, etc. So I want to thank you for joining me now, but I look forward to you seeing or talking to me later on at 6 p.m. today, if you're able to do that. You've got your camera on now, so
that's fine. I just say good afternoon again to everybody, but that's fine. Thank you so much.
So you're happy. You would prefer to chat later on at 6 then? Okay,
no, that's fine. We can go ahead. That's fine. We can go ahead.
You want to go ahead now?
We can go ahead. It's fine.
Oh, okay. That's lovely then. So
apologies, I'm sitting in my car.
Yeah, you said you weren't quite prepared for being on camera today, which is fine. Everybody's used to all these different things going on, especially when we're dealing with COVID and and all the whole situation with that. To me, you look wonderful anyway. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I made a bit of an effort because you were coming on, really. So anyway, let's get into it. Like, you're the editor-in-chief of Rich Woman magazine, and you're also a life coach.
Correct.
And as you mentioned, alluded to just now, the founder of RIAP, the Royal Institute Against Poverty and Starvation, which seems like a really worthy cause. So you have your hand in a lot of pies, really, a lot of pies. How are you dealing with overwhelm and the whole situation that's going on, with yourself and all that you're involved in? How do you deal with it personally?
See, the number one is you have to take care of yourself. So you have to put yourself first. There's nothing selfish about putting yourself first. And I do that. So I do, as you rightly said, I am the editor-in-chief of Rich Woman Africa, which is a luxury lifestyle magazine. I'm also a co-founder for an NGO. I have multiple businesses. But however, I still put myself first. I'm a mother, I'm a wife. But I also think it's just really important. First of all, it's your purpose. When you understand your purpose and you understand what is within you, you also know that you need to replenish and you need to refresh yourself quite regularly. And that's what I do. I need to replenish, I need to refresh. And it could simply be going to get a facial, for instance. And I think I'm in need of one. But it could simply be go to get a facial or some downtime. But I think I'm very intentional about the time I wake up and the time I go to bed. That's very intentional. And so that helps me with my work-life balance as well, because I need to be able to refuel. So I tend to be in bed about 9:30 and I'm up probably about 4 o'clock. But 4 o'clock is very refreshing
Wow.
for me in the morning, because I can do, nobody else is up. I mean, my husband's up, but nobody else is up. And it's beautiful because I have that time to pray, meditate. I can really go into the day really refreshed and refueled. And by 8 o'clock, I actually think it's almost midday because I've done so much. I've probably done a full day's work by 8 o'clock. So that's
Really?
why I think it's really important to put yourself first.
Yes. Now, does that interfere with your family though? Like, I understand you say get up earlier and sort of help get yourself mentally prepared and emotionally ready and so on with your morning routine, which sounds fabulous to me. I do something similar, but I don't get up quite as early as you. I'm up about 6:30. But that sounds fabulous that you do that. But does that sort of, with all that you have going on, does your family say, well, I need more of your time, I need this? How do you deal with that then?
You see, I always say to people that you have to use a prescription that works for you. Now, for our family, my children tend to get up about 5:30, 6 o'clock anyway. So they're quite
Okay.
early risers anyway. My husband is a very early riser as well. So our
Mm-hmm.
household is actually quite bubbly at, early hours of the morning anyway. And come
Mm-hmm.
9 o'clock, it's really quiet time in our house. So not necessarily. I take a lot of breaks as a family. We go away, we have weekend breaks. So that's the part where I say we're quite intentional. Now, so we don't drift. So what I do tend to find, and especially when I'm coaching, is that many tend to drift. And so you realize that actually I've been so busy and I haven't had time for my family. Whereas we set out
Mm-hmm.
every year, we plan. And despite COVID, we've been able to fulfill those plans. We've been able to spend time together, go away on trips, and really have that, a lot of that reconnection. Sunday is our day that we literally, there is no technology in our house. We spend that
Okay.
time together. We spend that time, if it's reading, but it's talking or it's walking, that's our intentional time that we do as a family. So I think, as I said, there is no prescription that fits all.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding what is your environment and understanding your home. And as I said, my home, we're early risers. We also
Mm-hmm.
we do quite a lot together, and that intentional, as I'm very, very adamant, about let's be intentional. And my children get that now as well, my husband. So let's be intentional, let's plan things. So we plan things in. I plan date nights with my husband. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
intentional part, because absolutely, with everything we're doing, we can be so wrapped up and carried away with what's happening. But because we know we have that time together and that's coming up, we're more tolerant, shall I say, with each other as a family, because we know that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be away. Actually, Sunday is our family day. So we
Mm-hmm.
do get that. So it does really help. And I must say that, as I said, that being intentional really does help us as a
Yeah.
family, and it's always helped me.
Okay. Now, just going on to sort of your work and when you're doing work, etc., because we all experience this where we got all these distractions going on during the workday. Somebody sends an email, or
Mm.
the Clubhouse pops up and says somebody's speaking here, and I don't know about you, but Clubhouse is really addictive. So, I want to hear everything and everybody. So I'm just wondering, how do you cope with all these different things going on within the workplace itself when you do start your work?
Okay. So number one, I don't have notifications. That's something. So I wouldn't see, and you're absolutely right, Linda, about how, technology and all of these apps and these amazing features that are out there can be very addictive. Now, for me, I don't have notifications, so I won't see them come up in the first place. So again, it's intentional. So I would intentionally go into Clubhouse. I will intentionally then go into Instagram, for instance. I don't really use Facebook that much, but again, it's an intentional action that I'm doing if I go into any of these apps. Now, when we talk
Okay.
about emails, I have a maximum of 30 minutes a day to deal with emails. Apart from that, I do not. I would not entertain emails out of that, because how I see that is emails is what everybody wants from me now. So I'm responding to everybody else 30 minutes of a day. Now after that, it's what I want to do for the day. If not, I will constantly be pulled into somebody else's world and what they want and what they need, and that
Right.
doesn't work for me. So hence the reason why I carve out 30 minutes. So I'm in terms of my productivity, I'm a real 30 minutes queen. So I would sit
Yes.
there and say, okay, fine, 30 minutes is what I would do this activity, and 30 minutes for another activity. But 30 minutes is my emails, 30 minutes is my notifications, so 30 minutes is social media. So to be fair, I probably wouldn't even be in Clubhouse long enough before my app times out and says to me, your 30 minutes is up. So and that's because there are so many distractions. And for me, it's
Yes.
again about being intentional. What do I want to gain from Clubhouse in the first instance? And it could be information. I mean, that's fine. That's 30 minutes of my personal development time, and that's how I see it. And then I have, as I said, I'm a list queen. So I would write down what I need to do and what I want to produce. So what's the outcome? So there's a reason why I want to go into certain apps and what I need to get out of those apps.
Okay. So you have a timer then, it sounds
I
like,
think I've
that you
lost you.
set.
Yeah. Okay.
You have a timer that you set to just tell you 30 minutes up, I've got to do this other thing now. So do you set, like, like some people set the day before their list
Yes.
of priorities? Do you do that, or you do it the day of?
Yep.
You-
Absolutely. No, I've lived with that. I always do it the day before, because I then tick off what I've done, what I've missed, because it's so easy to
Mhm,
forget things, right? So it's so easy to miss something off that was so urgent. So I do have a
mhm,
list that I would always draft up the night before, and I would tick off what I have done, and that's really part of my debrief the night before. And
mhm.
so yeah, absolutely, that's how I do things. But also with my apps, I actually have a timer on the apps. So if I have been a little bit careless and didn't realize how long I've been on there, it will time me out. And I think that's brilliant, because I've coached women and they will say, Evelyn, I didn't even realize I was on Instagram for 3 hours. And I said, it's easily done, because you don't realize you're constantly scrolling, you're constantly going through things. So you don't actually realize. And at first I was quite shocked until I said, actually, let's time this. Time what you're doing. And she was doing something at the same time. And she realized that in total it was actually 3 hours that she was on, constantly scrolling, listening to a story, listening to this. And yeah, it didn't really it's not productive. And I said, actually, out of that 3 hours, what did you gain? What did you learn?
Yes, yes,
What
yes.
has that added to your life?
So what would you say then, or what are your priorities then for each day? How do you divide up your time? I know you said you do it in sort of 30-minute chunks, but then what takes priority for you then in your life, in your business life?
So what takes priority? Okay, in my business life, okay, so my life's a little bit different. So in terms of my business life, it's impact. So when I set that out, so for instance, in our NGO, my impact would be to reach as many lives as possible. So I would be looking at, okay, what type of campaign? So for example, we're doing a campaign this month, two campaigns actually. One is about sanitary products for women that can't get sanitary products, the basic necessities that we think that we have. There are many women around the world that can't get that. So for me, that's my purpose. So I would sit back and think, okay, fine, this is our July campaign, and that's what I want to achieve. So that's my purpose for the day, is to ensure that I've reached as many women as possible and that information is out there, and obviously providing information where I can. Now that would be one angle, and then another part of, say for example, another part of my day to day was also part of our NGO. We are providing access. We're working with Microsoft to provide access for children who wouldn't normally be able to access technology and how to
Mhm.
code and access into STEM. So again, that's been a priority. So my priority has always been about impact. And it's always about whose life can I impact today? Whose life can
Mhm.
I positively? And if you ever look at my to-do list, you would see that I always have you encouraged somebody today? Have you blessed somebody today? What life have you impacted today? That's what I walk away with. And yes, it could even be my children's life. But my point is, I want to be able to answer that question at the end of every day. Have I made impact? And what has
But I
that
would,
impact been?
okay, but those are broad subjects, so I take it that you would have broken those down further to say, okay, whose life have I impacted today? These are the lives that I want to impact. These are the list of
Yes.
people that I want. Is that what you do?
I do actually, and you're absolutely right. So, for instance, when I've written down today, there was somebody I knew that was going to hospital, and it was a question of that was a person's life I wanted to impact. So that was with encouragement, not only with encouragement, but how else can I support? How else can my team support you as well in things that we
Mhm.
do as well? So that was somebody's name. You're absolutely right that I did write a name down. However, as
Mhm.
you rightly said, very broad within as an organization. I also still look at it from a perspective of, okay, what has our organization done today? How have we
Mhm.
reached out in terms of our key performance indicators that we want to turn around? But you're right, on a very personal level, absolutely. I do then put down names of who do I want to impact, who can I touch, who can I encourage, who can I motivate today.
Mhm.
So yes, it's aligned to a
Okay.
person.
All right. I'm kind of I'm interested and intrigued because you're talking about impacting those who don't have very much, from one end of the scale, but you're also editor in chief of Rich Woman magazine. So how do these sort of come together for you in your business?
Quite easily. And the reason why I say that, because rich woman, what we stand for, and people have asked me this question time and time again, what does rich woman stand
Mhm.
for? And I talk about rich woman, a rich woman Africa. We stand from a perspective of you are rich within. What do you have within you? And it's all about that richness of character, richness of soul. And so you see that there is some common themes by when I talk about it from a philanthropic point of view, you understand why we talk about rich woman Africa the way we do. So it's also about changing the narrative, first of all, of the African Caribbean woman and how we are perceived. As you know, Linda, media is a very powerful tool. And that's the reason why
Yes.
it aligns, because we need to change that narrative and we need to showcase the best of African and Caribbean woman. So I'm very about women empowerment. And that for me is women empowerment on another level, which is we're helping you share that story, tell your story, and make impact. And you will be able to inspire people. So if somebody hears the same story that they've been going through or the same journey, they will realize that, hold on a second, I have a reason to live. I don't need to give up. There are many people. We interviewed the two-time mayor of Enfield, Mayor Kate, and she lost her husband while her children were very young, her four children. And so essentially, she became a district nurse or midwife, and she did all of this by herself. And she
Mhm.
also became two-time mayor of Enfield by herself. And what does that say? So when I'm coaching women, many times some will say, I can't do this, and they have many excuses. And what this does
Mhm.
is it shows you of, right, with every excuse you have, there's a solution, and there is somebody that took the same thing you're complaining about and championed with it. So that's the purpose of the alignment between the two, which is, yes, there are many, and we talk about disadvantage, but it's not disadvantage from a point of victim and pity. It's a point of empowering. Why do we do the NGOs? Because we're trying to empower. And that is when you look at the flip side of Rich from Africa, we are empowering you to tell your story
Mhm. Okay.
and change
All
that
right.
narrative that is out there about you.
Mm. But I'm just going back again, though. Do you get those that maybe have the resources, the financial resources to help some of these ones that are poorer and, don't have very much? Do you try to get them to involve to help?
Absolutely. And to be fair, most of our NGOs have definitely been self-funded. However, there are some amazing people that have, we've had schools in the UK that have come to us and said, how can we support? Can we come with you to Africa, for instance? And can we support in that way? Microsoft have been brilliant. They've collaborated with us, supported us. So absolutely, there are, some amazing people in this world that will still come forward and say, how can we help? We want to make an impact. We want to make a change, but we just don't know where. And that is why we're here, because we're saying actually we found the needs. We found that there are people that are suffering right beside you. You may not realize that, but we're helping you. We're putting the spotlight on that. So yes, on the underprivileged, how we can change that, but also on the success stories that are happening out there, because we want to make a change. We want you to be aware of that as well.
Okay, good. You're doing very well, by the way. Yeah, excellent. Well, I expect nothing less, to be honest. Now, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about some tips on how to cope with overwhelm in our life, as well as in business, etc. And I saw on your link tree that you have quite a few apps that you talk about that can help us. Are you able to talk about some of those apps? There's about 5 that you mentioned. I don't know if I can prompt you if you like, or if you know about them and you want to share that information.
Tell me about which one in particular. That would help your audience, I guess.
Right. Let's see. Rescue Time was one. Letter Space, and Instapaper. I think that one, Instapaper, is really key. Well, that would help me, to tell you the truth. I haven't heard of it before, but Instapaper is more about when you see certain things going on on a web page, and you want to sort of stop and read it, but it sort of lets you save it, so to speak, so that you can read it later on.
Okay, so I'm not sure that's on my. Okay, I'm not sure that's on my. Is that on my? That's not on my page.
That was on your link tree. That was on your link tree. Five time management ideas. You probably have so many here, but that's what I found on your link tree.
I probably do that. I'm just wondering from a blog perspective. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So right, okay. So you probably weren't prepared to talk about
from that. A perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I can do,
because I'm not quite sure what's on there. I know that.
What I can do is I can share these tips out, to people if they want them, because I thought they were quite good time management apps and tips. Or if people want to find your link tree as well, I can put that in the post so that people can have that and they can share that out. I'll share that out.
Yes, sorry, Linda, I do recall what you're referring to. You're talking about, okay, so it was one of the blogs we've written in terms of, I wrote on productivity and time management. So, okay, absolutely. So that's where I've spoken about the 30 minutes productivity tool that I use. And that, to be fair, that's something that we've actually developed via our own consultancy. And again, that's more about in terms of stop every 30 minutes. So yes, you're right. There are many, but I specifically, so we designed one during our coaching, which is about that 30-minute stop. So every 30 minutes. And I know some people say that, well, actually, do you need to stop every 30 minutes? But personally, I do, and I believe this increases my productivity, and I can do so much more with my time because of that. So, but yes, there are a number. So now it just clicked to me what you're referring to, because I think it's my link tree. But yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
I'm not brilliant with social media, so I've completely forgotten. What I've written. We wrote that I've wrote that quite a few years back, because it was really about when people were asking, how can we be more productive in the workplace, and how can I be productive with myself? And so that's where that's why I've mentioned about the notifications. So I've spoken about things that are also free for you to be able to do. So some of these things are, you don't have to buy an app. You can actually put these measures in place, which is remove your notifications for one. To set up within most phones, you have the ability to set up limits on your social apps. So those are the type of things that I would definitely recommend from a practical point of view. Now, when we start looking at those type of apps in terms of Trello, there's so many other apps that we can
There's so
use
many.
to make ourselves more
Yeah.
productive and mention. So I'm not endorsing any. I think it was more of a question of how can we become more productive.
Right. Okay. Sorry if I threw you a little bit there, but yeah, I
That's
just thought some
okay.
of those tips were really good. But as you say too, there's so many different types of apps that we can use to help us manage our time well. Anyway, so that's fair enough. That's really good. So, yeah, so that's kind of the time. So I'll let you go. I know you're busy and you want you have another meeting to go to. So I really, really appreciate your time today. And thank you for joining us. And maybe later on down the road, you can join us at another time to talk about other aspects about the things that you are involved in and how you're helping to empower women, etc. If that would be fine with you.
Absolutely, Linda. And thank you so much for accommodating me. I do apologize. I said I didn't realize it was a full broadcast, but you're a brilliant host, and thank you so much. And I really
Oh,
do wish yourself well and your audience. And of course, if there's anything I can add to contribute to, I'm more than happy to do so.
okay, great. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you very much. So that was Dr. Evelyn
Thank you.
Okpanachi. You're more than welcome. So she joined us today. It was wonderful to have her on because she shared some great tips actually, because she really basically said that what we need to do is set some time limits and not get distracted by all the various things going on. So we're really, really grateful for the time that she shared with us today. Now, hopefully you're getting some value from these vodcasts that I call them anyway. And if you are getting value, we hope that you will like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can find most of the past episodes. Next week, we'll be talking to Jo Happiness Howarth, and she will be helping us with mental well-being and how to reduce stress. So hopefully you can join us then. Before we go, I wanted to just ask you if you're available Tuesday for a wellness webinar that I'll be doing at 8:30 p.m. Please do come along to that. I'll share out some details regarding that. So watch this space for more information coming out regarding our wellness webinar on Tuesday, 8:30 GMT time. So other than that, I want to thank you very much for joining me today on our Strictly Healthy show. And we will see you next time, same space. Bye for now.